You're listening to Fathers Handling Business, where fatherhood meets real talk and real solutions. Here are your hosts, Donté Witherspoon and Dwyan Marsh, ready to dive deep into the art and science of parenting. Let's get started and empower the dad in you.
All right, I want to welcome y'all to another episode of Fathers Handling Business. My name is Dwyan Marsh, and my co-host here is
Donté Witherspoon.
All right, and we're going to be talking about setting the tone today. But first, we want to give a shout out to Fluent Radio, our people over there. Appreciate you all having us on. Chi-Town, what's up?
Chi-Town, stand up.
All right, let's get into it. As a parent, you want to set the tone for your kids, and we have a couple of clips that we wanted to play from some inspiration that we got. So since it is football season, we're gonna play some clips from one clip from Des Bryant, and then we're gonna play a clip from Tom Brady, former football. So here you go.
Break generational curses. Quit yelling at your kids before they go to bed and expect them to sleep well. Quit yelling at your kids in the morning right after they wake up before school and expect them to have a good day. You set the tone for your children. You set the tone. You set the tone for your voice. They will always remember in their heads. You become their inner voice. Don't be their inner critic. Speak life. Speak love. Speak bravery, kindness, and hope. Speak wisdom and truth. Most of all, listen to your children.
So before we move on, I just wanted to kind of go in a little bit more on what he was saying. He was saying, stop yelling at your kids before they go to bed and expecting them to sleep well. Stop yelling at your kids in the morning before they go to school and expecting them to have a good day. Because as the father, especially, you're their inner voice. So you want to be encouraging as their inner voice instead of their inner critic. Even for ourselves, you know, we think, oh man, my grandmother wouldn't like this, or my mom wouldn't like this, or, you know, man, I'm about to do this, but my dad, you know, I don't want to do this because of my dad. That voice, that inner voice. So you are going to be the inner voice for your children. So you want to make sure that you want to be their inner motivator and not their inner critic. So that was the gist of what he was saying. And you want to go to the...
Before I do that, just to piggyback off that, another thing, especially with kids, it doesn't matter if you have a son or a daughter. Both of them, they're always looking to answer this question that they have for both, daughters and sons. And for a son, the question that they have for their father is, am I good enough? Do I have what it takes? And they want to hear that answer from their dad. Mm-hmm. And for the daughter, it's, am I lovely? Am I beautiful? Am I worth fighting for? And okay. So just to piggyback off that inner critic that you mentioned, we have to be, and I'll talk more about this later, but we really have to be impeccable with our word when it comes to our children because there's so much power in the tongue.
100%.
And with that, I'm going to play a clip from Tom Brady, and here it is.
When I had these dreams of being a professional quarterback, or even go to college to play, my parents were there to say, go for it. Like, there was no, hey, maybe you should think about, let's set plan B, or I don't know, that's really hard, or, I don't know, there's a lot of people that want to do those things, and you should really try something that's, maybe less risky. I was all in on that. Maybe that was a little bit naive, but there was no plan B for me. And I had parents that fully supported that. So when I wanted to go to batting cages at night because I wasn't hitting the ball the way I wanted to in baseball, my dad was there, rolled up his sleeves, took me there. We took batting practice for 30 minutes and we drove home and we talked the whole way home about, did you see that, Dad? And I hit that one great. And then when I wanted to go learn to be a better quarterback, we'd go to a football camp and he'd track down there with me and he was saying, go for it, son, you got this. You're going to be in there. And my mom, God bless her, I was like the slowest player that ever ran at the combine, like ever in history. You can look it up. And my mom would be like, honey, you're so fast. You're so fast, honey. And I'm like, Mom, I'm slow. It's okay. No. Trust me, you're fine out there. So that's just what unconditional love and support can do for you as a child. And don't ever, I always tell parents, don't ever tell your kids they can't do something. Just, you don't know what they can do. Yeah.
Parents have such a huge impact on the children just by simple words. Simple words.
Yes. But also, we want to point out that these are two extreme cases, and they are two people who are very internally motivated.
Right.
Right. So Tom Brady, I mean, obviously he's the greatest of all. Like, he got 7 championships, bro.
Yeah.
Like, he's the greatest of all time. Des Bryant is, one of a small number of athletes when you think about the sea of people who have tried to be wide receivers in the NFL.
Right.
He is a very small. So the thing to take away, or the thing that I take away from this is, definitely be a motivation for your kids, but also set the tone for them and speak truth to them. And, when you are seeing your kids, for instance, my son wanted to play basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was all about it. Obviously I'm the one that put the basketball in his hand when he was little. I encouraged him obviously to hoop because I'm a hooper. But when he became of age, like 12 years old, and he's ready to like really take it serious, there was things that I didn't see in him that I'm like,
That's gonna take him to the next
that's
level.
gonna take you to the next level. And but I'm being honest as a parent. Like, understand that if this is something that you want to do, then you got to go all out. You got to be internally motivated. You got to be working when nobody else is watching. You got to be like Tom Brady said, like, yo, after he had a bad game, he's like, Dad, can we go to the batting cages?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so he wanted to do that, and his dad supported him on it.
Right.
And so we can't force our dreams, on our kids. You know what I'm saying? And we can't.
Absolutely.
We really can't make them do something that they're not internally motivated to do. Like, we can press them to do it, but they're going to be unhappy. They're going to be, and they're going to internally reject that.
I mean, there's a line between, like you said, pressing them or forcing them to do something, and then encouraging them.
Correct.
And setting them up for success by, sharing whatever knowledge you have. So, like, you're a hooper, so you have a ton of knowledge that you can give to your son that will help catapult his game.
Correct.
And so, and just to let dads out there, moms too. If you're a single mom, I get it because you're playing mom and dad. Mm-hmm. If you have any type of like advice or knowledge to whatever your child wants to do, like, encourage them, give that knowledge to them. That's not forcing them to do anything. Mm-hmm. It's giving them something to get them going. And so, really and truly, like, that's what we got to do.
Yeah. And setting the tone is being that example for your kids, and showing them how to do things and how things can be done better. I think we were talking about the Tyreek Hill thing, the other day. Mm-hmm. And it came out. So this is my take on it, right? I've had numerous interactions with the cops, but what we want to do is make sure that we're meeting people with the kindness and not with angst, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter whatever relationship it is. We all know what cops are capable of. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Good and bad. Like, we've seen all the tapes, we've seen all the Instagram stories, we've seen all the lives, we've seen people get killed. So it's like, why not meet them with the kindness, right?
Respect.
Respect, regardless if they're wrong, regardless if they're right. Like I said, we watched The Chosen, and Jesus was saying, yo, if the Romans make you carry their stuff for 1 mile, carry it too.
Yeah.
Show the humility, show the respect. Even though it's unfair, right? Like, it's a lot of stuff that's unfair. Like, you just can't go off of that. We know that it's probably not warranted, the stop and all that kind of stuff. But even Tyreek Hill came out and said, yo, I could have handled it better.
He could have handled it better.
I saw the video. All he had to do was roll down his window, bro. You in a jet black car, you a dark man, You know what I'm saying? You rolling down your window like this and like here.
He
You know what I'm
he
saying?
explained why, but yes, he explained why he did that because
What
he
was the
did.
explanation?
Well, he didn't want people taking pictures. Like he got pulled over. He didn't want people taking pictures and all that stuff. Which I get that. However, like if the officer asks you to roll it down more, then you just got to comply.
You just got to comply, man. Like all of that could have been avoided. Now, obviously, there's always going to be rogue people and people that are going overboard, but you just have to do your role, right? And let
Right.
God handle the rest. You know, like that's how I live my life. Like I do my part and I let God handle the rest. You know, I told this story before. I got pulled over with my kids in Oklahoma, of all places, at nighttime, right? When I think my son was like 15 or 16, so he looked big in the front seat, and I
Right.
got my younger sons in the back seat, you know. And I knew why he pulled us over, but I rolled down all the windows so he could see what was going on. Hey, officer, how you doing? Here's, you know, wop. And he saw what it was. He came at me kind of hostile, but I came at him with the kindness, and we was out of there in 2 minutes. Like
Right.
he was like, oh, okay, y'all going over there. All right, cool. So, you know, just meet him with the kindness, and it can go the opposite way. So just do what you're supposed to do. You can't control other people, but do what you're supposed to do.
Right. That's actually happened to me. Now that you mention it, that's actually happened to me. I was driving I picked up some kids for youth group. It was like 3 kids, and we were going to church, and I got pulled over, and he came at me like yelling,
Right.
like cussing. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, officer. I didn't realize that I did that, or I didn't see the sign. I guess it was like a no right turn on a red, and I
Okay.
didn't see the sign.
Okay.
I said I didn't realize that I did that. I didn't see the sign. I apologize. And then like when I came with with that tone of just like humility,
Right. Right.
respect for the officer,
Right.
I ended up not getting a ticket. But I was also able to set the tone for high schoolers that weren't even my kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was able to set the tone for
Nice.
them.
Nice.
To let them know, like, hey, like this is how we behave when we get pulled over by officers because of who we are, and they were all black in the car. So this is how we have to behave. You feel me?
100%. Like you as an adult has to set the tone. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. That's Proverbs 15:1. Just had to look up that verse real quick because I know that's a verse that I kind of live by. But I mean, for real, like a harsh word stirs up anger. Like if somebody's already coming at you, you know, hostile, you know what I'm saying, and you coming at them and you're meeting them with that same energy, then it's just going to escalate instead of you meeting them with the love of God and, you know, killing them with kindness, whatever, however you want to say it. It always brings it down.
Hostility produces hostility.
Right.
You know, like it is what it is. But if hostility is met with love, kindness, all those things, then it kind of just dissipates the hostility.
Yeah, it gets it out the way. So, but yeah, definitely wanted to speak on that real quick about that Tyreek Hill thing, because you know that was a little bit. When I saw the video, I was like, "Come on, bruh. Like come on, man. Like it's not that hard. It's not that hard. Like we don't have to meet hostility with hostility, and I'm glad that he admitted that he could have handled it better.
Yeah.
Like I commend him actually for that.
And we're not going to be perfect all the time.
No, we're not going to be perfect all the time.
So he's a human being, and after everything, the dust settled, he realized the things that he could have done better, and then he voiced those things.
Which is dope.
But
Which is dope.
There also has to be some type of accountability for officers.
Yeah, for sure.
Who fly off the handle.
For sure.
As well.
That's neither here nor there. Like we already know what that is.
Yeah.
Right. I can only speak for our side of things. Right. Like I'm not a police officer. I've never been on that side of the law. I don't know what their codes and whatever is. I only know about our side of the situation. I only know about being a father and protecting my kids and understanding that, you have to act a certain way because of who you are.
Yep.
Right? Because of who you are in this country. We just talked about the chosen. In that time, the Jews were treated, similar to how black people were treated in this country. Right? The Romans, they could spit on them. They could make them do work when they didn't want to. You know what I'm saying? They could make them do whatever they wanted to do.
It was written law at the drop of a dime.
It was written law at the drop of a dime. Romans could, basically do whatever they wanted. Right? And so at one point, it was written in our law, that you couldn't prosecute somebody who killed a black person. Right? It was written in our law that you couldn't do things like that. Obviously, we live in a different time now, but there's unwritten laws, right? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of cops that go off on immunity and all the other kind of stuff, which, like I said, that's neither here nor there. But all we can do is do our part, right?
We can only control ourselves.
Right, and let God handle the rest,
Oh.
So yeah, setting the tone. Making sure that we as fathers, come at them with these type of stories and these type of situations. And it was a great, tone setting when you got pulled over with kids that weren't even yours.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That weren't even yours. So
let's talk a little bit about what Des Bryant said. So stop yelling at your kids before they go to sleep and expect them to have a good night's rest. And then stop yelling at your kids before they go to school and expecting them to have a good and productive day.
Okay.
What do you think he meant by that?
I mean, it's pretty literal, but, our words have power.
Right.
The power of life and death is in the power of the tongue, right? Life and death is in the power of the tongue. So, sometimes we can cuss our kids out without using any cuss words. You know what I'm saying? Like we can go ham, right? Without really, it's the intention behind it. It's our the way that we come at them.
Yep.
Our posture, our heart posture, our temperament, right? They can sense all of those things, just like they know when something's wrong when mommy and daddy aren't, vibing. Like they know what it is. So sometimes your words are just that extra little that makes it hurt even more. So I mean, yelling at your kids. I grew up with a single mother, but I also grew up with my godparents, right? So my mother was in the Navy, so she was gone half the year, 6 months out the year she was gone, right? So when she was gone, I was staying at my godparents' house.
Okay.
And I was a 2-parent household, and I was one of 6 kids in there.
Yeah.
So I literally grew up half of the year in a single-parent household with being the only child, and then the other half being one of 6 kids in a 2-parent household, right? So
was your mom being in the Navy, was she like very militant with you, or was she the opposite?
No, she was very militant with me. She was very strict. My mom was very strict, but she joked a lot, right?
Okay.
That's how I usually describe my mom. Like, she was super strict. I was always on punishment. I was always getting whoopings. I was always, you know what I'm saying? I was always in trouble in my childhood. But, she was very sarcastic, right? My mom had very dry humor. And so she joked a lot. So, it was a good balance. But my point in saying that was that my mom didn't yell. My mom was silent.
The silent militants. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
My godmother, right? She was a yeller. Right. So she'll cuss you out in a second. She was a yeller. Right. So I grew up in, 2 kind of different households. So, I think you said this before, like, yelling doesn't really work the way that we think it does.
Well, after a certain point, the kids just get used to it, and then up, there goes mom, or up, there goes dad.
Yeah, exactly.
They're used to it. Like, it just becomes they become numb or callous to the loud voice.
Right. They just tune it out.
Mm-hmm.
So how was your upbringing?
So
you grew up in a yelling household or a non-yelling?
I absolutely grew up in a yelling household.
Okay.
So it was my mom and I for a while. And then she got remarried to my stepdad, and my stepdad was the calm, cool, collective, and my mom was the yeller, the disciplinarian, the beatings. Like some people got whoopings, I got beatings. But yeah, that's the household I grew up in, and then my ex-wife. And I'm telling this part of the story because it relates to how we raised our kids in the beginning. So my ex-wife, she grew up in a household where there was yelling, and so we just naturally yelled. It was just like what we did, and when our kids would frustrate us, we would yell.
We'd be yelling.
And it didn't really dawn on us how it affected them until, I want to say at the time, our 5-year-old son yelled at our 2-year-old daughter. And we kind of looked at each other and was like, yo, like, wait, you can't do that, but also
He was going off on her?
Also, you got that from us.
Yeah, 100%.
And so had to do a little deep dive, self-reflection, look in the mirror, and pretty much change our tone. And it wasn't easy because you've grew up, being disciplined a certain way, being talked to a certain way, and then you just naturally do that. And so it was like a whole...
So before you go on, so how did that affect you as far as growing up in that yelling household? Like, how did that affect you? I mean, I know that obviously you became a yeller as a parent, at least initially you did. But how did that, like, looking back, obviously when you're growing up, it just is what it is. Like,
it is what it is, yeah.
You just become numb to it, like you said. But how do you feel like that affected you as an adult?
As an adult, I would say it kind of just, I adopted it, and I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that I adopted that part. And it's like, and really it's not even on purpose. It's not like I set out to, like, you know what, when I grow up, I'm gonna be a yeller at my kids. Usually we tend to, say, when I grow up, I'm never gonna yell at my kids, or when I grow up, I'm never gonna whoop my kids, or when I grow up, Right. But some of the things it just happens naturally, and that was one of the things that happened naturally. And so, in order to stop yelling, I had to be very intentional by the way I spoke to the kids. So that was how it affected me. But going back as a kid, like I don't really think it had any effect on me. Like,
You don't think so?
No, because it happened so often. It was just like, oh, that's just mom. That's just her personality. That's just how she talks.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, being in that house, that's how she talks, and that's just your mom, and blah blah blah. Like, did you all have a close relationship?
Yeah. So we had a close relationship, I would say, up until like a few years ago, I would say.
Okay.
And it was for some other reason, but and especially after I graduated after I graduated college, moved back home for a couple years. And we were probably the closest then.
Okay.
We did have like a rocky, like when I was like 13, 14, from I would say 8th grade to 10th grade.
Okay.
It was bad.
Right.
It was really bad, actually.
Right.
And then when I moved back after college.
And so from those years, 13 to 18, why was it bad? Was it bad because you feel like you couldn't talk to her, or is it bad because she was just yelling all the time, or why was it bad? What made it bad?
Well, it was like manipulation and control and just so much stuff. It was a lot. And one day I just snapped. And then when I snapped, that was the end of it. I was like, I had to go live with my dad.
Well, so all that to say, so it did affect you.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. It affected your relationship.
Yeah. It was more so the decision making more than like the yelling or the whooping or anything. Because I remember when I was...
Those are decisions.
Yeah, I remember when I was 25 and I was going through like Facebook. I was on Facebook on my lunch break. Yeah. Okay. And I was looking at some of my friends from high school, and I was like, oh, like, man, what happened to them? Like, a lot of them were just like, I don't know. I'm not trying to judge anybody, but that like they were allowed to do a lot of things growing up, whereas like I grew up in a very strict home, like not allowed to go to parties, not allowed to do anything, you know, except for go to church like 5 times a week. And I saw the kids who were allowed to do all those things, and some of them just like, I don't know, it's just lives didn't pan out. Lives took a different route, I would say. Not not trying to judge.
In a negative way? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. And so I remember, you know, one day going home on my lunch break and then calling my mom and saying, yo, thank you. And she was like, for what? And I was like, for whooping me. I said, for whooping me. She was like, oh, I'm so, and mind you, she apologized right then and there. She was like, don't say that. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I was a young mom and I didn't know what I was doing. And so the reason why she said that was because she later, you know, after raising me a certain way, I had a brother 11 years later, and she raised him completely different.
Right. Completely
different.
But how did he turn out?
Well, I mean, he turned out fine. I'm super proud of him, but he, like, there was definitely some stuff he got away with a lot of stuff. I'm just gonna say that.
Right.
He got away with way more.
They always do. Yeah.
And
I got a way younger sister too, so I already know. Yeah.
He got away with a lot of stuff. But he's doing really well, and I'm super proud of him. And I want to say he's a great kid. He's not a kid. He's not a kid, but he's a man, but I always see him as my kid brother, you know?
Of course.
But I told her, like, thank you for whooping me. She was like, no, like I shouldn't have done some of the things that I did, and I apologize. But I took it as, you know what? If you didn't, I could have turned out like this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, and part of like, you know, spare the rod or spoil the child, right? You know, that was one of the things I grew up, and that was intentional. Like, no, we're gonna whoop our kids.
Right.
Right. But it was different. It wasn't like how I got whooped or beat, I should say. It was more so like, hey, we're gonna have a conversation. It was more discipline. It was a form of discipline.
Form of discipline.
So how we did it was
boundaries.
We're gonna have a conversation, and then about whatever they did, we're gonna have a conversation about it. We're gonna let them know they're gonna get a spanking for it, and then whoever does the spanking. So if whether it was me or my ex-wife, whoever does the spanking, they're the ones that does the consoling. So it's not like, oh, dad gave me a spanking, so I'm gonna go run to mom. Like, nope, dad consoles the child after the spanking. The conversation already happened before the spanking, and that's like that let them know this is why you're getting a spanking, because you did X, Y, and Z. Right. And so that worked for a short while, and then I just took a different approach. We just stopped spanking them, and we did more talking. Yeah. So, and that's the approach that my stepdad took with me. So he would sit me down for hours, bro. For hours, and open up the Bible, and so.
Oh yeah, I remember those lectures. My grandfather used to hit me with those. Not from the Bible, but just from, you know, his experience as a, you know, Chicago player. You know what I'm saying? He had some jewels to give me that I wasn't ready for at the time. But yeah, those lectures were crazy.
Yeah.
You know, I try to curtail mine nowadays. You know.
Yeah.
Make them to where I can, like you said, because really just speaking to your kids and giving them that encouragement and letting them know, you know, that even when you're wrong, you know, I'm still here to help you out.
Right.
You know, and this is why you're wrong. And usually it's wrong because as kids, we think we know stuff, especially when we get to those 15 to 18 years.
Right.
You know. We think we know stuff.
We think we know everything at that age.
Yeah, but our perspective of the world is so small. You know?
We have no clue.
We have no clue. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Like we have no clue, and I did it. I 100% did it. Shoot, that's why I got married at 19, dog. I thought I had done everything there was to do. Like,
Yeah.
so I was like, I might as well get married now.
19. That's
At 19,
I
thought I had done everything there was to do. It was wild.
yeah.
I remember like saying that. I remember
That's
saying
young.
that. And I was young. Like I just thought that it's nothing else for me to experience. Might as well just get married and settle down.
That's wild.
That is wild. Yeah. Little did I know.
Yeah.
I knew nothing. Yeah.
But the crazy part about that is here we are, fast forward 20 plus years later, and we have all these experiences that we can, give to our kids, but also share with you all. And so that's the beauty of it.
100%.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. And so going back to setting the tone, power of the tongue, right? One of the things that I always like to teach the kids is being impeccable with your word, because there is power in the tongue, and I teach them based on this book called The Four Agreements. One of the agreements is be impeccable with your word, and it's because your word has power. You have the ability to tear people down to the point where people will want to commit suicide based off of what someone said,
Based off of something.
whether in person or via on social media, bullying them with your words and behind a computer screen, like all these things, like there's so much power in it, and it's wrong. Quite frankly, it's just wrong. It's hurtful and it's wrong. And I know that if it was happening to us, like we wouldn't like it. And so we could also use, our word to be impeccable with it by building someone up, encouraging someone, speaking life into someone. And that's what I teach the kids to do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
On a daily basis. Just yesterday, my son told me, he was like, man, I feel really bad for this kid. And I was like, why? He was like, well, as I was leaving football practice, I saw this one kid and his eyes were all red and it looked like he had just been crying. And I said, hey, you good? And he was like, no. And then my son said, he was like, well, what's wrong? He was like, just my dad. He said, and this is huge. He's like, my dad, he just doesn't care about me.
That's tough.
And my son didn't say anything. He just gave him a hug.
Right.
Like, and this is not even a close friend. It's just some random dude that he knows. He knows of the dude at school. And he was like, oh man, I'm like, just gave him a hug, embraced him. And and it's stuff like that. It's like, you could, that was being impeccable with an action as opposed to a word, because he didn't say anything. He just gave him a hug. And that's love right there,
100%.
But just that broke my heart. Like hearing that story, like that kid was crying because he said his dad doesn't care about me.
Yeah. I mean, that's tough to hear for a kid to feel like that,
Man.
And that's the tough part, as parents as well, is why you want to be very intentional about your words and give them that affirmation over and over again, because I don't know, we obviously don't know the situation, but I've seen to where, parents do care about their kids and do love their kids but they just don't express it enough. Right. And so that may not be true, from the parent's perspective, but it is true from the kid's perspective, because that's how they feel. Right. So, that is just a lack of communication from the dad's point of view, just to be able to, and I've been there before, my kids have said stuff like that to where they feel like, oh, it seems like you don't care about me, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So James Earl Jones just died, right?
Right.
And so, James Earl Jones came from a time where the dads didn't say that they love you. The dads went to work right?
And that's how they showed their love.
And that was their showing for their love. So, I've seen a couple of clips in that time, in this last week when James Earl Jones died, about, his famous role in Fences. Right, are you familiar with Fences?
I haven't seen that movie, but I know he was in Fences.
So he was in Fences, and Denzel Washington was in Fences, and he did the same monologue. But it's a very famous monologue, but it's about the man, right? A black man, right? Talking to his kid, and his kid is like, "Dad, you don't love me, right? You don't know, Dad, you don't like me." Right? And so the kid is all crying, and the dad just comes at him like, basically what he said, I don't know the whole monologue. I probably should learn it, but I don't know the whole monologue. But he's basically saying, do you have a roof over your head? Do you have food in your body? Right?
Clothes on your back.
Clothes on your back. Like, when I go to work every day, the white man, he said, the white man don't pay me because he likes me. He paid me because he owes me. Like, he's like, I don't have to like you. I'm not here to like you. I'm here to take care of you and love you. Like, this whole you think that I have to like you and be around you all the time and be all smiling in your face, like, and I'm totally paraphrasing, but that was the sentiment. That was the tone of his monologue. It's a very famous monologue. I'm sure if you look up James Earl Jones, it'll pop up. But that was that time when that was just a man's job. Like, you go out there and work and provide for your family. That's my contribution to you, son.
Right.
Like, that's it. Like, you got what you need. You don't need anything else from me. And now we come up in a different time.
Right.
Where, the dads, we didn't have that love, so we wanted that love, right? A lot of us, didn't have it. I didn't have any. I didn't know my real father. Shout out to my godfather though, who, like I said, I live half there, and he was a real pops. But you want that. You want to go play ball with your dad.
Yeah.
And, you want him to like you. You want his approval. And so as fathers, we can no longer be in that mode where, like, look, I take care of you. I do this for you, and look around. You know what I'm saying?
It's not enough.
Look around. Yeah. It's not enough. Just because we just live in a different society, and it is enough, but it's not enough, right?
Right.
They need more love. They need more care because other people are getting it, right? And so they feel like they're lacking because it was different back then because everybody's dad
all
was like
dads
that.
were at work.
All dads just came home and smoked cigarettes and read their newspaper on the thing. Like, that's kind of how all dads work, but we're just not in that phase of humanity anymore. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's it's interesting to hear stuff like that,
It is,
because it's the perspective of the kid, and this was at baseball practice, right?
No, well, my son was leaving football practice, and this kid, he wasn't even.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was just at the school, like.
Just at the school chilling.
Yeah.
And so obviously we don't know the situation, but yeah, man, pour into your kids, man, and pour into them in a positive way, in a positive light. Give them the love that maybe you didn't receive,
and wanted to receive.
Yeah. Even when they reject you.
Sometimes it's hard to give the type of love that your child is looking for if you didn't receive it yourself. And so, and that goes with anything. Like, that goes with just, like, I don't know, like, so when I got kicked out my sophomore year of high school, I went to go live with my dad, and there was just a ton of stuff that I learned from my dad that I didn't learn when I was living with my mom and stepdad. And my stepdad was great. He was amazing man. Provided for us, spiritual leader of our household. Man, he was just a great dad. And I want to say like there are certain things that he just didn't intentionally give to me because he didn't get it himself. Yeah, so he grew up without a father, and there were just some things that were lacking, and no fault to him. You know what I mean? No fault to him. But you can tell that there's a difference between my brother and I in certain aspects of our lives, because he didn't get certain things because my stepdad didn't get certain things to give to my brother, whereas I was given certain things by both my dad and my stepdad. And so, yeah, like it's sometimes can be tough for a father to know how to give a certain thing to a child that they never received.
100%, 100%. But it's also on the father to search that out,
Yeah,
right?
if he's aware of, if he's aware,
If
you
he's
know?
aware of that he's lacking, and how will we know? Questions.
Yeah.
Questions are the answer.
You know, and surrounding yourself around, I would say surrounding ourselves with other men and older men who have different life experiences. I love the fact that so we're in a men's group together, do Bible studies and stuff like that, and we have people from all different backgrounds, all different walks of life. We have all different unique lives that we lived and experiences that we lived. And we can come to the table and share those experiences with each other and learn and grow from each other. And so if we surround ourselves with other men who are from different backgrounds, older men who have different experiences than ourselves, then we're going to learn and grow in that way as well.
Right. 100%. But you have to seek those opportunities out.
Definitely.
100%.
You have to be open to that.
You have to be open to those opportunities and really seek those out. And it's really you have to make a conscious effort,
Right.
to do these type of things. Well, that's gonna be our episode for today. We appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with us for a little bit. This is Fathers Handling Business. I'm Dwyan Marsh. It's Donté Witherspoon, and we're talking about setting the tone today. So, hope you all got something from it. Leave a comment. Let us know if you got any tips for us, or if you learned anything from us. All right, have a good one.
Peace.
Peace.